Hello, everyone. All right, Virgo. I want to be straight with you from the very first second because this energy does not have room for a slow warm up. Saturday, March 7th. That date has been sitting at the center of what came through today, like a stone dropped into still water, everything else arranging itself around the rings it sends out. I don't use dates lightly. I don't anchor readings to specific points on a calendar unless something about the energy insists on it. This one insisted. So if you are watching this before Saturday, good. There is still time to understand what is gathering. If you are watching it after, the understanding still matters because what detonates does not disappear when the moment passes. It reshapes things, and the reshaping is what we need to talk about. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If your stomach just tightens, subscribe, stay close because Virgo goes exactly where this goes. No flinching. Let's begin. There is a difference between an ending and an explosion. Endings are gradual. They have a long tail. You can feel them approaching from a distance, can watch the thing winding down, can prepare yourself incrementally for the absence that is coming. Endings give you time. They give you the particular mercy of knowing that something is concluding while it is still present. So you can say whatever you need to say, feel whatever you need to feel, close whatever needs closing before the door shuts all the way. Whew, explosions give you none of that. An explosion is not the conclusion of something. It is the sudden, violent, irreversible revelation of a pressure that was always there, that was building quietly and invisibly in the space between the visible surface and the reality beneath it. You do not watch an explosion approach. You are simply somewhere else, going about the ordinary business of your day, and then the world you were living in is replaced in a single, undeniable instant by a different one, louder, more exposed, with edges where there used to be smooth surfaces, and open space where there used to be walls. What is gathering around Saturday carries that quality, not of slow conclusion, but of sudden revelation, of something that has been under pressure in relationships, in circumstances, in the interior of someone connected to you, possibly in your own interior in ways you have not yet fully acknowledged, reaching a point where the containment simply fails, where what was held cannot be held any longer, where the gap between the official version of things and the actual version of things collapses into a single undeniable moment of truth. This is not a gentle reading, but it is an honest one. And honesty in the days before something large is worth more than comfort. Let's talk about pressure, about what it actually is and where it has been building. Every significant explosion in a human life has a prehistory, a long, largely invisible period of accumulation of tension held in place by whatever combination of will and circumstance and mutual agreement was keeping the surface intact. The surface looks solid. From the outside, it looks solid. From a certain angle, even from the inside, it can look solid. But pressure does not care about appearances, it simply accumulates. It simply fills the available space, and then, when there is no more available space, it finds the weakest point and it moves. The weakest point in your situation is not where you think it is. It rarely is. The place we brace for the obvious fault line, the crack we have been watching with one eye, is almost never where the break comes, because we fortify the places we can see. We shore up the obvious vulnerabilities. We maintain with conscious effort and ongoing vigilance the parts of our situation that we know are fragile. And so the break comes somewhere else, somewhere we were not watching, somewhere the pressure found its way through because we were looking in the wrong direction. Between now and Saturday, it may be worth turning your attention away from the fault lines you have been monitoring and asking yourself where the pressure has been accumulating in the places you have not been looking. What in your life has been quietly filling with something unacknowledged? What situation has a surface that looks intact but produces, when you press gently against it, a give that solid things should not have? What relationship, what arrangement, what version of events has been maintained by collective agreement rather than actual truth, an agreement that perhaps no one spoke aloud, but everyone understood was keeping a particular fragile thing from collapsing? Those are the places Saturday may touch, not the places you have been guarding, the ones you forgot to guard because they seemed stable. Now, there is someone. There is almost always someone at the center of a reading like this, a specific person whose own internal pressure is contributing to what is about to move. And this person has been carrying something that has the specific quality of something that cannot be carried indefinitely. Not because they lack the strength they have, in fact, been carrying it with remarkable persistence across a stretch of time that would have broken a less determined person. But because the carrying has reached a point where the cost of it exceeds any conceivable benefit of continued silence, something in them has hit a wall. Not the wall of defeat they have not given up, but the wall of sufficiency. The moment where a person looks at everything they have been holding in place, everything they have been managing and maintaining and carefully containing, and thinks quietly, in the particular stillness of someone who has just made a decision they cannot unmake enough. Not in the angry sense, in the weary, clarifying, oddly peaceful sense of someone who has simply stopped pretending that the current arrangement is workable. Enough. This ends. I am going to say the thing. I am going to do the thing. I am going to stop organizing my life around the preservation of a silence that has cost me more than any truth ever could. That decision, wherever it was made, in whatever quiet hour of whatever recent night, is what is moving toward Saturday like a fuse already lit. The decision preceded you knowing about it. The decision preceded any visible sign. It is already made, already in motion, already generating the specific kind of momentum that decisions made from the deepest layer of a person generate unhurried, undetectable, and completely unstoppable. Let's look at the two dimensions of what explodes. Because there are two, and they are as different from each other as fire is from water, and yet they are arriving in the same moment, through the same event, carrying both their qualities simultaneously. The first dimension is rupture. Something breaks. Not necessarily in the catastrophic sense, not the breaking that leaves nothing intact, but in the sense of a form that was holding a certain shape, finally releasing that shape, of a version of events that was never quite true, finally being relieved of the burden of pretending to be true. Something that has been a particular way between you and this person or between you and a situation for long enough that it feels like the natural state of things, the fixed landscape rather than a temporary arrangement, is going to stop being that way. The rupture will feel in its first moments like loss, like the disorientation of a world rearranged overnight, like the specific vertigo of certainties that turn out not to have been certain. This is normal. This is the cost of the transition. The form was familiar even if it was not good. The arrangement was known even if it was not nourishing. And the breaking of the known, whatever replaces it, carries its own small grief that deserves to be honored rather than dismissed. But the second dimension, this is the one worth holding on to through the vertigo of the rupture, is revelation. Because explosions do not only destroy, they also expose. They remove whatever was obscuring the view, and suddenly the thing that was behind the wall, the thing that the wall was keeping you from seeing clearly, is visible, fully visible, in a light that is harsher than you are accustomed to, but also more honest than anything the careful management of the surface ever allowed. And what the explosion reveals in relationships, in the direction of your life, in the understanding of someone who matters to you, may be something you needed to see, something that, once seen, makes sense of things that have been confusing for too long, something that reconfigures the landscape in a way that is, yes, disorienting, but also finally accurate. Uh, Finally corresponding to what was always actually true beneath the maintained surface. Truth has a gravity that fiction cannot sustain indefinitely. Saturday may be the day the gravity wins. There is a quality to the days immediately before a significant rupture that deserves naming. The world gets unusually vivid, colors slightly brighter, sounds slightly clearer, ordinary moments carrying an inexplicable weight that ordinary moments do not usually carry, a sunset that stops you, a conversation that lands deeper than its content warrants, the face of someone you love catching the light in a way that makes you suddenly overwhelmingly aware of their existence in a way that the habituation of familiarity usually prevents. This vividness is not sentimentality. It is the nervous system's response to approaching change, its way of photographing the before the after, makes it impossible to remember exactly what the before looked like. The body knows before the mind does. The body is always several steps ahead of the narrative we are telling about our own lives. And when the body turns up, the resolution on ordinary experience, when the world suddenly looks the way it looks in the last hours of a significant era, that is worth paying attention to. Pay attention to the vividness between now and Saturday, to what insists on being noticed, to what refuses to be ordinary despite your efforts to experience it as ordinary. Something in the quality of your attention in these hours is already responding to what is approaching, already tuning itself without your instruction to the frequency of what is about to arrive. Here is what careful looks like in the hours before something explodes. It does not look like bracing. Bracing is the preparation for impact. It is the body made rigid against the force of something arriving. But rigidity does not protect. It transmits force more completely than flexibility does. The thing that survives impact is not the thing that was stiffest. It is the thing that was rooted deeply enough to bend without breaking, that had enough give in it to absorb the shock without shattering. Be rooted, not rigid, between now and Saturday. Know what you know about yourself, your values, your non negotiables, the version of your life you are building toward, and let those things be your anchor rather than your armor. Armor can be breached. Roots, when they go deep enough, hold through almost anything. And when Saturday comes, when the thing that has been building finally detonates in whatever form it takes, stay in your body. Whew. Not in the abstract space of analysis and interpretation and the construction of meaning, in your actual body, in the felt, physical, utterly present experience of what is happening in real time. Because the information your body will have access to in that moment about what is true, about what matters, about what the explosion is actually made of beneath its noise and heat is more accurate than anything your mind will be able to assemble in the immediate aftermath. Your body will know what this is. Trust it. There's a final thing, the most important thing. Explosions that happen in human lives, the real ones, the ones that matter, the ones that leave the landscape permanently altered, are not punishments. They are not evidence that something went wrong or that you failed to prevent something preventable. They are, in their own strange and difficult way, the universe of cause and effect making a correction. Insisting on accuracy, refusing at a certain point to allow the gap between what is true and what is being maintained as true to continue indefinitely. The correction is coming because something in your situation, in a relationship, in a circumstance, in the shape of a particular chapter of your life has been off true for long enough, has been maintained at the cost of something real for too long, has required too much energy to keep in its current form and not enough to finally let it become what it actually is. Saturday is not an ending dressed as an explosion. It is a clarification dressed as one. It is the moment the actual shape of something finally stops being hidden by the shape that was being maintained in its place. That clarification, however loud it arrives, however disorienting its immediate aftermath, is pointing towards something that has more room in it than what came before, more honesty, more actual ground to stand on, rather than the careful construction of ground that only looked solid from a distance. The ground you will be standing on after Saturday, the real ground, the ground that was always there beneath the maintained surface, is yours, fully and permanently yours, in a way the surface never was. This is not a dream, Virgo. It is the most awake thing you have been asked to move through in a very long time. Move through it with your eyes open, all the way open,